Well, after 2.5 months of almost no rain, we finally had a decent rain yesterday, so I am starting to burn. I'm starting to clear out a spot to actually make fires in. And I was able to light the material that we had stockpiled under the high voltage power lines, and it went up instantly because this stuff's been drying out in the sun for a long time. It actually kind of scared me. Ended up taking the bucket and dragging that big pile in the back, spreading it out a little bit because I'm not under the power lines, but I probably am in a servitude. And if something were to happen to these power lines, it would be like terrible, terrible thing. I wouldn't be dealing with the local Magnolia Co-op. I'd be dealing with, I don't know, Energy. I don't know what company it is. So I'm not going to make many more fires here. I don't think it's worth the risk. 3 more stumps I'm working with. This one burned all the way down and it's smoking, so I'm pretty optimistic about this one. These 2 didn't burn that well. I had to restack the lumber this morning and it lit back up. So we'll see. So my goal here is, 1, to get the stumps down lower, maybe where I can grind them quicker if I do get a grinder. And 2, get rid of some fallen timber that's back in the woods. This represents 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5 of those trailer loads of lumber. This is a lot of, well, not lumber, but logs and branches. This is a lot of material that's no longer on the floor of the forest. Only got about 50 more loads to go. This is a good spot to burn. We have a ditch on one side and a road on the other. But because we have the pine tree beetle issue going on the other side of the power lines, I'm not bringing any of the pine trees over here to burn. I'm kind of worried about spreading those bugs. So everything I bring over here is popcorn trees or some sort of hardwood, but it's 90% popcorn trees. So what this video is about is making a place on the other side of the power lines to burn the pine tree junk, because we don't really have an open area big enough to have a safe fire, but I'm going to take care of that by the time this video is over. So we had some rain finally. We had almost an inch in 3 days, which is not a flood by any means, but it's enough to 1, fill the water tanks, 2, keep the trees I planted from dying, and 3, make me real comfortable about making big fires because everything on the ground is wet. Unfortunately, all the trees are very wet also. I've got some dry workshop stuff under there, and I got a little bit of charcoal lighter fluid. If I can get that stuff under there to light and burn for just a few minutes, it'll start. Maybe I can get a fire. Last 2 weeks, I've burnt 1, 2, 3, 4 huge piles of timber that were more or less that looked more or less like this pile. A huge amount of timber. My goal today, this is a 1-day deal, I got to go home this afternoon, is to clean this side of this little road all along here and burn it all. I can make a big fire today because everything's wet up to the main road right here. You know, we needed a place to burn somewhere between the power lines and the river because we got a lot of debris to constantly burn. So I picked this spot a couple months ago. It is where Hurricane Ida took down, I don't know, 10 or 15 pine trees. I don't know whether the big pine trees took down the little pine trees or the wind took them all down. But anyway, it was a huge mess. There's a stump. It hasn't been addressed since, there's a stump. There's a stump. There's a stump. It just pushed all these trees over. And then a lot of them died from the pine tree disease that's killing some of our pine trees. So it was a huge mess. And I came in here with the track hoe, kind of cleaned this little area and made a little fire. And every time I made a fire, I could make it a little wider because I was cleaning the area. So anyway, this is our established permanent fire spot. It's pretty safe now. It's pretty wide open. And I'm going to cut all this stuff up and put it on a fire. And I brought the tractor because it's getting further away from them. I'm having to carry the logs further and further, so I'm going to cut them and put them in the bucket and stop all that nonsense about carrying logs down the trail. So I'm going to light it and see what happens. I think I can get it going. If it wouldn't be for the scraps I've been bringing from my workshop and little charcoal lighter fluid, this would be almost impossible, because I don't burn unless it's rained, and after it's rained everything is wet, and all this big stuff is wet anyway because it's rotten, and it's never been properly dried. So the key to getting these things started to me is 5-gallon buckets full of scraps from the workshop. All right, still struggling, but maybe it'll get there. All right, we're making progress. So my fire kind of let me down. It's in there, it's doing something. It's putting out a little bit of heat, but I need a lot of heat. I need a big fire. So I'm gonna light another one, or try to light another one on this side, put some, almost the rest of my kindling from the shop. And I drove down the trail to where we cut the Chinese tallow trees down last year. And I got some a little bit drier, medium-sized stuff. So we'll see what we can do. All right, we have a fire, so I don't need to mess with it anymore. I just need to start loading it up with logs and see how many pounds. It comes down to pounds. It's how many pounds can I get burned today. Well, I started at daylight and it's 9 o'clock, and I finally got the fire hot enough. It's starting to dry out the logs and spread to the outside of the pile. And that's what it's going to do, and it's going to do it real slow because none of this stuff will burn until it's been like in the flames for a little while to kind of cook all the moisture out. So yeah, awesome, finally. If not for the track hoe with the thumb, clearing this would have been almost impossible, because it was vines and thorns and brush, up to the blue top of the green tractor back there. And that stuff's so hard to deal with. But with the track hoe bucket, you just smash it down, you kind of bulldoze it up into a big pile, and then you can grab it with the thumb and carry it to the fire. Doing it by hand would have been rough. And then I made this little burn area, it's a horseshoe, because I wanted to be able to come in here with the tractor, with the trailer, and not try to have to turn around. I wanted to be able to have a drive-through, so to speak. And the same with a pickup truck or anything that's big and awkward. We can drive, it's a loop, so we can drive off the main road and drive halfway through the loop and drop whatever we want to burn, and then drive back onto the loop. So pat myself on the back. I think this is going to work good. It's been over 2 years since Hurricane Ida uprooted all these trees. The ones that fell all the way to the ground are really wet and much more rotten than the ones that didn't make it to the ground. They just got hung up in other trees, which was quite a few of them. The ones that were hung up in other trees dried out a lot more and didn't rot quite as much. And in a way they're a fire hazard because they're just up there and they're dry. So anyway, I've cut them all. They're all laying on the ground, and now I just got to cut them up small enough so I can pick them up. And after this trip to the woods, I brought my track hoe back over here, and I discovered that I've been kind of stupid picking these logs up by hand, because the track hoe will pick up a big log without any problem. So I do have to use little logs to get a good fire going, because you can't just light one of these wet logs with a match. Once I get a good fire going, I can just set whole logs on top, and that was a game changer. That made everything go much faster. And then when I get the logs in the green bucket, I can't just dump them on the fire, because that doesn't work. You have to kind of place them one by one. So this is a pretty good little workout doing this all day long. Actually, I haven't done it all day long yet. I'm not any good after about 3 hours. So just keep pecking at it, and I'm getting close to having this area clean and decent looking. That kind of finishes me up
up to here. Got these little stumps that I can come and get with the mini hoe, but they're about impossible to pick up with the tractor. This stump, I can pick it up, but like this one that's standing straight up, I can't get it. It would be a monumental task. There's a couple of privet stumps. I can dig those up. And, you know, I'm not accomplishing a lot. I'm just making this area look a little nicer and cleaning it out so when we do need to burn, we can get in and out of here. Probably be able to get in and out of here with a pickup truck. I'm not messing with this pile today, but I could knock that pile out in a full day. So, but I'm gonna keep coming down this way. I got these cut up so I can throw them in a bucket. I cut up what was on top here, so I need to cut some more. Throw them in the bucket. Some trash over here and a little pile out there. I'll be through an hour or two, maybe. Well, I didn't get quite as far as I wanted to. I kind of ran out of energy. These logs get heavy after a couple hours. But I got pretty much all the way to past here. I left a couple of big ones there for Colin. He's a lot stronger than I am. And I got this stuff all cut up, ready to go into the bucket. And I got this stuff on the corner all cut up. So yeah, made progress. I'm just worn out, and I got a bunch of other things I got to do, or I would like to do. So, calling it on the fire. Now I'll be here the rest of the day, so I'll check on it a couple times before I leave. But it should be fine. And the fire is good and hot in the middle. No sparks, no popping. Just steady drying out this wet stuff, and the fire will gradually move out to the perimeter. And then when the fire's out, we'll have like 20 different little stumps because it won't burn all the way to the end because they didn't get dried out. But they'll be little bitty. I'll throw them in the middle. That'll be the start of the next fire. And the fire's doing fine. I wish I'd have brought my gloves. I'd have tried to throw some of these that are on the edge up in the middle, but it's kind of hot. Just have to do what it's going to do. So there's a transition period between when the dry kindling burns down and the wet logs light up. And I think we got it licked. I think we have logs burning, which means it'll burn as long as I keep chunking wood on top, which is what I'm gonna do today. My goal today is this stack of logs to get them cut short enough where I can handle them and move them and put them in the fire. Pretty ambitious goal, but I got all day. So we're gonna get started. And I got the tractor, so if I can just cut them like reasonably small, I can roll them in a tractor bucket and bring them over there. And the fire is absolutely 100% started. So we don't have to worry about the fire anymore as far as keeping it going.
So I cleared this little trail, this little loop trail with the track hoe and the chainsaw. First I walked with the chainsaw and cut these super long pine trees that were on the ground into more reasonable lengths, and then I took the track hoe with the thumb and kind of grabbed them and
Pile getting smaller?
Stacked them in different piles. I had a whole bunch of piles, and I didn't start filming until I was about halfway through actually. But anyway, that's where the piles came from, the track hoe and the chainsaw. And now that I have a little spot cleared out, you see we're burning.
Okay, I'm gonna walk and go get my little track hose, a few little stumps I want to mess with. Mostly it's because I'm tired, I want to break. Let the fire burn We'll let the fire burn for a while. I'll go get the Traco. I haven't started it in about a month. I'll bring it over here, and we got some kind of little stumps maybe I can get up, which really won't amount to anything. It'll just make it look a little nicer up in here. I think once this dries out, it'll be a nice camping spot because it's way back away from the highway. And it's open enough. All right, it's 10 in the morning. I started before 7, and I got my pile knocked down. And the burn pile is behaving well. All these logs around the perimeter, they probably won't burn because they won't be in the fire long enough to dry themselves out. But all the ones in the middle will burn. And I got this got this little pile of CRAP cleaned up. Got one more big pile over there, and then random stuff. And then this area will be nice and open, and we'll have a good burn pit so we can start going up and down the road, taking care of all the down trees and kind of just cleaning up. It's just aesthetics. Doesn't make any difference to the deers, but it'll look nicer when we get a lot of that stuff from, mostly from the hurricane, but some of them are just from the pine tree beetles. Get all cleaned up and burned. So I went and grabbed a sandwich and came back about 35 minutes, and the fire is looking very, very hot and very controlled. I think I might take the Traco and grab some of these big monster logs and just set them on top and see what happens. Since I got the Traco here and the fire is burned down kind of a little bit, still very hot, I thought I'd put some big boy logs on there, see how they do. Pretty confident making fires with the Traco because it is an excellent fire putter router. I know that from experience. You can move the logs, you can do whatever with the Traco. So we'll see. I want them to be mostly burned down by quitting time tonight though. I don't want to have a situation where a log could roll off the top. But anyway, the ground's still wet, should be good. Well, this looks nothing like it did 2 hours ago. I experimented with setting 1 or 2 long logs on here using the Traco and the thumb, and it worked well. So I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And I've cleared out a huge area of all those nasty logs, stumps, and other stuff. I think one more wet day and I can finish this side of the trail, which is my goal. Unfortunately, it's getting later in the day. The sun's come out and the sun is drying up all the leaves and the pine needles, so I think I'm done for the day. I'm just gonna let it burn down. If it's still going tomorrow morning, I'll throw some more stuff on it. But I put one log on there and it's popping. Up until now, nothing's been popping, but I put that last log on top. I don't know what it is, but I wish it wasn't popping, but it is. So. All right, well, I hang around a little bit, let it burn down, but I'm not gonna put anything else on it. So I lit this up this morning. It's Monday morning. Probably burn until Wednesday night. But I think it's pretty safe. All the ground around here is just wet. And the logs burn super slow because they're so wet. It's 9:45. I keep stacking lumber, keep stacking it higher so it can benefit from the heat, and there is some heat in there because I can see the steam pumping, but it's a pitiful fire, just pitiful. I don't know if I'm gonna get a good flame before I leave this afternoon. Anyway, hopefully it'll light up pretty soon.
I used the Traco to pick up this big wet log, get it out of the mud. It's all at once. We're up on the toes. So as I cut chunks off of it, it kind of relaxed and laid back down. But yeah, you can tell how waterlogged these logs are by how quick my chainsaw goes through these logs. I mean, it's a good saw and it's sharp, but yeah, if this was good wood, it wouldn't be that impressive for sure. So moving the shorter pieces of logs with the green tractor and stacking them by hand was a lot more labor intensive, but it definitely made a better, hotter fire, because when you set them with the Traco, you can't really get the logs as tight to each other. You got more air between the fire, and yeah, it doesn't work as good, but it works good enough. So this is the way we're doing it. And I have a dog that showed up. I guess somebody dropped her off. She's pretty fat, so I'm not worried about her yet. She stayed, I've made 3 trips. She's been there every time. She's still not skinny, so I was hoping she would just wander off and find a home. Super friendly little dog. Little bitch did steal my apple though and ate it. But anyway, still a nice little dog. I don't have a fenced yard at home, so I can't take it home. Everybody around here is so fruit on dogs being loose.
So this fire is probably going to burn for a while. But the next time we have a fire, it won't be from this clearing, because this clearing is officially now a clearing. And the next time we have a fire, it will be debris and logs from both sides of our road, so we can kind of clean up our road, which will probably be an ongoing project forever. But this project, as far as making a place to have a fire, it's a done deal.